Exams are in September and you have done zero preparation, but still dreaming of scoring 90%. Sounds impossible, right? But let me show you how it's actually possible. So hey students, welcome back to Genora Academy, and this is your rapid revision for class 9th biology, the fundamental unit of life. This is not just a summary, it's a rescue plan. Even if you have opened your book for the first time today, don't panic. Just watch this video till the end and I promise the chapter will feel clear, sorted and score ready. Let's begin your smart last minute revision right now. In this video, I will clear the key concepts and give you the most important points to remember. No book, no stress, just pure smart revision. So grab your notebook or just your attention and let's master biology together. One rapid revision at a time, because revision doesn't have to be long. It just needs to be right. So let's start. So here is what we will cover in this video. Everything that is actually important for your exams. So first is the quick introduction to the cells, then the prokaryotic versus the eukaryotic cells, then the plant and the animal cell differences, diffusion and osmosis, after that the tonicity, isotonic, hypertonic and hypotonic solution, endocytosis and the exocytosis, and last but the super important cell division, meiosis and mitosis in a simplified version. So let's start one by one. Cell. Every living from bacteria to human is made up of cells. So that's why cell is called as the basic structural and the functional unit of life. Also, the fundamental unit of life is the cell. So there can be three differences. You can also say that the defining structure of the cell is the defining structure of the organism is known as the cell, or the structural and functional unit of life is also known as cell. So let's move to the scientist corner. Who discovered cell for the first time? Robert Hooke. Robert Hooke in the year 1665 discovered the cell. But there is a twist. Robert Hooke was the first one who discovered the dead cells. After that, the living cells are discovered by Anton von Leeuwenhoek. Anton von Leeuwenhoek was the first one who discovered the living cells, and in 1665 Robert Hooke discovered the dead cells. So if there is a question, don't confuse with this. The dead cells are discovered by the Robert Hooke and living cells are discovered by Anton von Leeuwenhoek. I hope that up to this it is clear. Now let's come to the cell theory. Cell theory can also be named as Schleiden and Schwann theory. Why Schleiden and Schwann? Schleiden was a German botanist who in 1838 examined many of the plants and discovered that the plants are made up of different types of cells which make different types of tissues. And Schwann in the year 1839, he discovered that in animal cells, the outer membrane is the cell membrane, or you can say as the plasma membrane. But in case of plant cells, outside this plasma membrane, there is one rigid structure known as the cell wall. So both Schleiden and Schwann together given an hypothesis that all the plants and animals are made up of cells and the different products of the cell. But both of them failed to explain how these cells are arising from, how the new cells are developing. So for that, another scientist came, Rudolf Virchow, in the year 18 1855. In the year 1855, Rudolf Virchow come who given a statement omnis cellula e cellula, which means all the new cells are arising from the pre-existing cells. New cells are arising from the pre-existing cells. So this is how the cell theory, based on the number of cells present in an organism, it can be of two types. So cells based on number can be of two types. Either it is unicellular or you can say as multicellular. So from this term only we can able to understand that unicellular means when a single cell is present in an organism, then it is considered as unicellular organism, and when a multiple number of cells are present in an organism, then it is considered as a multicellular organism. So if we talk about the example of unicellular organism, then it can be bacteria, amoeba, etc. And for multicellular organisms, we are considered as the multicellular organisms, that means the humans. Now based on the type of nucleus, it can be of two types, that is the prokaryotic and the eukaryotic. Now most of the students confuse with this prokaryotic and the eukaryotic organisms. So here is a trick. Pro, it sounds similar to no. You, it sounds similar to true. So no means when a cell is not having a well defined nucleus, then it is considered as a prokaryotic cell, and when a organism is having a true nucleus, then it is considered as a eukaryotic organism. So from this trick you can be able to understand the difference between the prokaryotic cell. So when an organism is not having a well defined nucleus, then it is considered as prokaryotic cell, and when an organism is having a true nucleus, then it is considered as an eukaryotic cell. Now have a look here. For your understanding, I have made the pictures, diagrams of the prokaryotic cell and the eukaryotic cell. Okay. So now we are going to discuss about both of these types of cells one by one in detail. So the first one is the cell membrane. So this cell membrane is made up of protein plus lipid. It is made up of protein plus lipid. Now outside the cell membrane there is a rigid structure known as the cell wall, and this cell wall is made up of peptidoglycan. So this peptidoglycan is responsible for the formation of the cell wall, and this cell wall is providing a protection layer to this cell membrane. Now there is a question which has been asked in many of the examinations, just like an MCQ. Mycoplasma is one of the organism which is not having the cell wall. So that's why it can also be termed as the joker. Why joker? Because due to this absence of cell wall, they do not have a proper shape. So they can be of any shapes. So that's why mycoplasma is considered as the joker of the plant kingdom. So if it has been asked that who is considered as the joker of the plant kingdom, so it is mycoplasma. Now the next one is the plasmid. Plasmid is considered as the extra chromosomal DNA. It is double-stranded circular DNA, and it has its unique phenotypic character, that is antibiotic resistance. This plasmid is having a unique character of antibiotic resistance. Now let's talk about flagellum. So here is a mistake in the diagram. This flagellum is not arising from here, it is actually arising from the cell membrane. Okay. The extension from the cell membrane is known as the flagellum. This flagellum you can write extension of cell membrane. Cell membrane का extension हो रहा है from the cell wall. Extension of the cell membrane from the cell wall is known as the flagellum. And the protein which is responsible for the formation of this flagellum is known as flagellin protein. And this flagellum is considered as the longest part. Cytoplasm is the fluid-like structure in which all these organelles are floating. The ribosome, it is considered as the protein factory. So if anybody will ask what is the protein factory of the cell, then it is ribosome. The last but not the least, the circular chromosome. In case of prokaryotic cell, single circular chromosome is present and it is not enclosed by the nucleus. Not enclosed by the nucleus. So this was all about the prokaryotic cell, the organelles present in the prokaryotic cell. So prokaryotic cell means which is having no well-defined nucleus. Now let's talk about the eukaryotic cell. Eukaryotic cell, all the organelles are membrane-bound structures here. So it consists of a nucleus, rough endoplasmic reticulum, lysosome, centriole, Golgi apparatus, cytoplasm, ribosome and the last mitochondria. So let's discuss about each of them one by one. Now let's start with the nucleus first. As I have discussed previously that in case of eukaryotic cells, the nucleus is well defined. A true nucleus is present. So let's have a look on the structure of the nucleus. So here this is the outer layer and this is the inner layer. In between these two layers, there is a perinuclear space is present and the distance, the diameter is of 10 to 50 nanometer. And you can see that each and every inner and outer layer are merging together and creating a space-like structure that is known as nucleopore. So due to the fusion of the inner and the outer envelope, a pore-like structure is forming that is known as the nucleopore. What is the role of this nucleopore? Why this nucleopore is forming? What is its function? So this nucleopore is allowing to move the mRNA outside and the proteins to come inside of this nucleus. Now, inside this nucleus, there are a lot of organelles are present. First is, you can see a thread-like structure. A thread-like structure known as chromatin. So what is chromatin? Chromatin is a nucleoprotein. From this term, chromatin, you can able to understand that chroma means color. Means we can stain this chromatin. And the stain used here is the basic dye. Why basic dye? Because in case of nucleoprotein, nucleus means DNA plus RNA and both are, what is the full form of DNA? DNA deoxyribonucleic acid. RNA ribonucleic acid means both this DNA and RNA are acidic in nature. And once we are dyeing this with the basic dye, it will absorb that. And the protein, there can be of two types of proteins, either the histone proteins or the non-histone chromosomal proteins can be present. So, role of this non-histone chromosomal protein is for packaging, tight packaging. This non-histone chromosomal proteins are applying. So, here you can see the structure of the chromatin. It is the DNA and here this is the RNA and the small ones are the histone proteins and the large ones are the non-histone proteins. and there is a nucleolus. So what is nucleolus? So nucleolus is considered as the rRNA factory, that is the ribosomal RNA factory. So when this ribosomal RNA combines or joins up with the protein, then it results in the formation of the ribosome, and ribosome is considered as the protein factory. Where this chromatin, nucleolus, all these are floating. So these are floating in the nucleoplasm. Just like cytoplasm, there is nucleoplasm is present. Let's talk about the mitochondria. We all know that mitochondria is known as the powerhouse of the cell. Mitochondria is known as the powerhouse of the cell. So if we look at the diagram of this, so this is like, okay, so this is the outer mitochondrial membrane, this is the inner mitochondrial membrane, and the structures they are forming, these are known as the cristae. So this is the structure of the mitochondria. Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. I have already discussed about the ribosome. That ribosome is considered as the protein factory, and cytoplasm is the fluid in which all the organelles are floating. Now let's come to the Golgi apparatus. So why this name Golgi apparatus? Where this name comes from? So this name Golgi apparatus comes from the scientist named Camillo Golgi, who discovered this Golgi apparatus. So these Golgi apparatus, you can see that from this structure, this is a Wi-Fi like structure. Okay, and this portion cis, and this is known as trans. So what is the role of this Golgi apparatus? It is helping in the packaging and helps in the glycosylation of the lipid and the proteins. So this is how the cell theory took its final shape. And these Golgi bodies, Golgi apparatus, are giving rise to the lysosomes. Lysosomes which are containing the digestive enzymes. Is the presence of rough endoplasmic reticulum and smooth endoplasmic reticulum. SER means smooth endoplasmic reticulum. So this rough endoplasmic reticulum helps in the secretion of the proteins and synthesizing and secretion of the proteins, and is in direct contact with the nuclear envelope. Whereas the smooth endoplasmic reticulum helps in the synthesis of the lipids and the steroids. One most important thing I have missed, that in case of ribosome, in case of eukaryotic cell, 80S ribosome is present, and in case of prokaryotic cell, 70S ribosome is present. In case of here, 70S ribosome is present. Now how the 70? 50S plus 30S. And in case of eukaryotic ribosome, it is 80S. 80S. 60S plus 40S. Now, maybe you could have a question that 30 plus 50 is 80. Then how this is 70S and 60 plus 40 is 100. Then why this is 80S? So what this S stands for? It is Svedberg unit, or you can also call it as the coefficient unit. So it is related to the density. Okay, so that's why this is not adding the weights. The average density is coming, so it is 70S and it is 80S. Last one is the centriole. So centriole is a basal body. You can also call that this can act as the basal body of the cilia and the flagella, which helps in the cell division and also helps in the formation of the spindle fibers, which then separates the chromosomes. And the centriole is made up of microtubules in a manner of 9+0 arrangement. If you want to have a detailed knowledge on this, the structure of the centriole, then there in the channel already a video uploaded on the topic, the difference between the centriole and the cilia. There you can study in depth about the topic. Let's come to the plant cell and the animal cell differentiation. This question is very important, so you can mark this and take a screenshot of this, because this has been asked in each and every examinations. So this is the basic difference between the plant cell and the animal cell. So you can see, in case of plant cell, cell wall is present, but in case of animal cell, plant cell is absent. Similarly, in case of plant cell, chloroplast is present, but in case of animal cells, no chloroplast is there. Vacuoles is present in case of plant cell, which is very large, and in case of the animal cell, the vacuole is absent. One more thing which is present in case of animal cell but is absent in case of plant cell is, just now we have discussed, that is the centriole. Centriole is the only thing that is present in case of animal cell but is absent in case of the plant cell. Rest all are similar in both of these cases, that is the mitochondria is present in both the plant and the animal cell, nucleus is present in both plant and animal cell, cell membrane, cytoplasm. So nothing rocket science is there in this topic. It is very easy. Just you need to write down the differences and memorize this diagram. Up to here we have completed the introduction, prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells, and the difference between the plant cell and the animal cell. Now let's come to the next topic, that is the diffusion and the osmosis. From this term diffusion, what you can able to understand? What this term diffusion means? In simple terms, the movement of the particles from the higher concentration to the lower concentration is called as diffusion. And the osmosis is a movement of the water across a semi-permeable membrane. This term is very important, semi-permeable membrane. So in case of osmosis, then the movement of water across a semi-permeable membrane from the higher concentration to the lower concentration, then it is known as osmosis. So from this osmosis only, we can able to differentiate between the tonicity, that is either the solution is isotonic, hypotonic or hypertonic. For understanding this part, let me tell you one thing. Solution. What do you mean by the term solution? Solute plus solvent. Solution means solute plus solvent. आपके पास पानी है और चीनी है, आपने पानी और चीनी को मिला दिया, then we can call it as a solution. Solution means a mixture of two components. और जब हमने चीनी को पानी में मिलाया तो चीनी is the solute and water is the solvent. जिसमें मिला रहे हैं वो हो गया सॉल्वेंट और जिसको मिला रहे हैं वो हो गया सॉल्यूट. तो बेटर अंडरस्टैंडिंग यू कैन राइट इट हियर. जिसको मिला रहे हैं वो हो गया सॉल्यूट एंड जिस में मिला रहे हैं दैट इज सॉल्वेंट. सो नाउ आफ्टर दिस सॉल्यूशन, सॉल्वेंट एंड सॉल्यूट, let's come to our main topic, that is either the solution is isotonic, hypotonic or hypertonic. Wait. Now, hypertonic, hypotonic and isotonic. Hyper मतलब ज़्यादा. So जब सॉल्यूट ज़्यादा हो जाएगा, अगर चीनी ज़्यादा मिला देंगे, पानी थोड़ा सा है, चीनी बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया, then that is called as hypertonic solution. एंड उस सिचुएशन में क्या होगा, shrinkage. If solute is less than solvent, then that is known as hypotonic solution and the result will be swollen. Isotonic, equal. Both the solute and solvent are in the equal amount. Then this will create equilibrium. Understood? Now let's have a look on the differentiation between the diffusion and osmosis. So in case of diffusion, it occurs in any kind of medium, but osmosis can occur in liquid medium only. Diffusion can occur in any kind of medium, either it can be liquid, gas, solid, but osmosis happening only in case of the liquid medium. Now for diffusion, the diffusing molecules may be solid, liquid or gas, and for osmosis, the movement of the solvent molecules only. For this diffusion, no semi-permeable membrane is required, but in osmosis, semi-permeable membrane is required. Let's talk about endocytosis and exocytosis. From this term, you can able to understand endo means inside. So, जब cell बाहर के environment से कोई चीज अपने अंदर लेगा, so that is considered as endocytosis, and exo external. So जब भी सेल अपने अंदर से कोई चीज बाहर के environment में फेंकेगा, तो that can be considered as exocytosis. For this endocytosis, amoeba जिस प्रोसेस से अपने खाने को खाता है, the intake process of the food of amoeba is called as endocytosis. The question will come, what the term known as the engulfment of the food by amoeba? Then it is endocytosis. Endocytosis is the process by which the amoeba is engulfing its food. Now let's come to the last but the most important topic, that is cell division. Omnis cellula est celluli. That statement means that all the new cells are arising from the pre-existing cells. मतलब जितने भी पुराने सेल्स होंगे उनसे ही न्यू सेल्स का डेवलपमेंट हो रहा है. सो जो पुराने सेल्स है वही डिवाइड कर करके आर मेकिंग द न्यू सेल्स. So this cell division can be of two types, that is mitosis and another one is meiosis. I will make one diagram, and from that diagram only this whole topic will be crystal clear to you. So first thing which I have written here is the reason of the division. So why this cell division is important? So there are three important points, that is the first one is the growth of the organism. एक छोटा सा सेल है और उसको बड़ा होना है. हम बच्चे से बड़े हो रहे हैं. वी आर ग्रोइंग बिकॉज हर एक सेल डिवाइड होकर के इज हेल्पिंग इन ग्रोइंग दैट ऑर्गेनिज्म. नेक्स्ट इज द रिप्लेस ओल्ड डेड एंड इंजर्ड सेल्स. अगर जितने भी पुराने डेड या इंजर्ड सेल्स हैं वो नहीं जाएंगे, देन हाउ दीज न्यू सेल्स विल कम एंड मेक देयर प्लेस. So that is the reason replacement of the old, dead and the injured cells by the new cells. Next is the for gamete formation. Now this is the most important topic. Gamete formation. Let's see. This is a chromosome and this is also a chromosome. This is called as an unpaired chromosome, that is chromatid. And this is when two chromatids pair together, then that is known as paired chromosome or sister chromatid. So now in case of human cell, we all know that 46 chromosomes are present. So in case of somatic cells, 46 chromosomes are present, but in case of gametes, only 23 chromosomes are present. Why? Because we know that during the reproduction, male parent, that is the sperm, and the female parent, egg, both these gametes fuses together and form a zygote. 23 chromosomes from sperm and 23 chromosomes from egg. So both these fuses together and form a zygote of having 46 chromosomes. Now comes to our main topic, that is the mitosis and meiosis. So in case of mitosis, diploid cell means a cell which is having 2 chromosomes. This is a cell and this is having 2 chromosomes. Now the DNA replication happens, and after replication we know that DNA replication means when DNA is making its own copy. Means there in case of diploid cells 2 chromosomes were present, so after DNA replication 4 chromosomes made. Now this will divide into 2 cells. So in case of mitosis, one cell is having 2 chromosomes and the another one is having 2 chromosomes. But in case of meiosis, the cell division is 2 times. First is this, in which both the cells is having 2 chromosomes, and then these 2 cells will again divide and will divide it into single chromosomes. So that's why this portion is having 46 chromosome and 46 chromosome, and this is having 23 each. So this is how gamete formation takes place. So this is the most important thing, that meiosis is responsible for gamete formation. So for mitosis, one cell is forming 2 identical daughter cells which is used for growth and healing, and for meiosis it is for reproductive cells, that is either for sperm or egg, means one cell is making 4 genetically different cells and it is used for the gamete formation and for sexual reproduction. So mitosis maintains the same and meiosis it is for variation. If you have started with zero preparation, now you have got a strong grip on the chapter. Watch this video again before your exam and you will be able to answer every question with confidence. Subscribe to Janora Academy for more rapid revision videos, because last minute preparation can still give you top marks if it's done right. See you in the next chapter.